All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Locke. I'm the IBPA Director of Membership and Member Services, and we're doing this webinar series called the Get to Know Your IBPA Member Benefits. We want to give you all a more in-depth look at all of our wonderful member benefits. Today, we're going to be covering Klopotek. So we are very lucky. We have some of the main people over at Klopotek, and we want to, I'll introduce, we have Nella, we have Victoria, and we have George, and I'm so grateful all three of y'all are here. You'll have so much knowledge about this. So I'm going to pass it on to y'all, and I'm going to disappear for a little bit. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Christopher, for the introduction. I'm just going to share my screen because we have a couple of introductions and then or intro slides, and then we show you our application and hopefully give you a deep dive into what we can offer. So, George, you want to take over?
Sure. So, hello, everybody. George Logan, VP of Marketing for Klopotek North America, and I actually got a chance to attend your conference in Orlando. I don't know how many of you were there or stopped by my booth or stand, but welcome once again. I'm going to be mostly in the background here and turn over the presentation to Nella and Victoria, but I'll be available at the end of the presentation for any questions or questions during the presentation itself. And from us at Klopotek, it's been a pleasure to work with the folks at IBPA. Chris and the entire staff have been so accommodating, and they've been so positive about partnering with us. I can't say enough about them, and I know they give you guys a big bang for your buck in all the benefits they provide. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nella.
Yes. So as I warned you, there are going to be a couple of slides before we really have a deep dive into the application. So for everyone who is not familiar or is wondering who we are, what we do, is we are a software and service provider for publishers and dedicated for publishers. So we are in the industry for 30 years. We have our 30-year anniversary this October. And we started as a German company, but since the 2000s, we extended our services to the European and then the US region. So we act globally as a provider for you as publishers to have basically the complete product lifecycle supported, or the complete enterprise. So from your title management, editorial, and production, over contract rights and royalties, to order to cash, everything regarding your author communication. We can support you with tools who hopefully make your life easier and better and more structured. So we, in order to do this, and what we decided to partner with IBPA, is that we have a so-called Klopotek Cloud, which is a public cloud availability where you get our best practice configuration, best of breeds, out of the box system as a cloud offering where you have a monthly subscription fee and can use everything we gained over the last 30 years as experience, or with our customers as development partners, or for example, international publishing groups like BISG, where we get our knowledge from and try to enhance our system as much as possible, fitting to these needs. We will come to the conditions a little bit later and how this whole works if you're interested, but just for you as a knowledge, it's a browser-based application, so you can just easily use your browser, log in, and then do whatever you need to do, from title management, editorial, production, creating your contracts, managing your royalties, doing your royalty calculation, all this. What we wanted to focus on today, and where we thought, how can you get to know us and how is the best way to show you what our system can do and how you can benefit, we thought about what are your daily problems and how can we ease your pain points and how can we really make with our system your life easier, especially as a smaller independent publishers where you do not have so far the support, and it seemed like a technical infrastructure dedicated to publishing is too much. So we thought, what are your daily issues you encounter where it is really a benefit to use our application. So for a lot of people, ONIX 3.0 seems like a big question mark and can be a little bit scary. So how can you do like really clean ONIX exports and have high quality metadata to improve your sales and visibility in the market? Something like, are you tired of using Excel and File Manager to use to manage your products, to manage your metadata, or to create your contracts with this? Do you want to have your royalties in Excel, or you want to have a system who does all the calculations by rates automatically and is correctly there? You want to have a workflow driven system maybe that supports your daily business. And then again, for example, metadata, which we will focus today, is the key for you regarding how will you bring your books into the market and make them visible on the various distribution platforms. So these are some pain points where we want to focus our presentation today and give you an introduction in the system, so that you can really focus on your products and on the content and not on the software behind. With this in mind, I would hand over to Victoria, and then we do the deep dive into the system.
Okay, I'm just going to start sharing my screen. You should see, Nella, can you nod quickly the stream starting page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, it's nice to at least virtually meet you. My name is Victoria, and I would like to now show you a little bit of our application, or starting in our stream homepage, because we're actually going to look at two applications that are both crucial for the title creation and title editing process. I've now logged in onto our stream homepage, and you can see that there's a collection of apps available for me. Of course, this is always tailored to the user's needs, because not everyone needs to see everything, but someone who works in editorial needs to see at least, those dedicated apps for the process, and someone who works in contracts, rights, and royalties might see different ones. So that's very much tailored to the user's needs. We're going to start in Title Lifecycle Manager, which is really the machine room, I like to call it, because this is where you do all of the title drafting, where you create structures such as different versions of a title, be it ebook, paperback, hardback, and so on. You can create series, you can create sets, you can create something that we call the work, which is basically the contract level or the intellectual property level. Underneath, all of your different manifestations can be grouped and worked on. And very importantly, this is also where you create templates, because in Stream, we very much looked to make it as easy as possible for the user to create new titles, but also to make sure that you don't lose any information, because you can use the template where certain information are already pre-populated, or that you don't make mistakes, which is also important, Okay, we are now in Title Lifecycle Manager. All of our, I can probably put this away. All of our Stream apps have the same look and feel. We always have very prominently a search functionality, which is based on a Solar search. So it behaves like the Google search. And I have just received, of course, this is a demo data. So we have, it says 3,700 titles in here. So, but within seconds, you get a result list. Of course, you can define this by entering a keyword as well. Let's say word. Let's see what happens, and then you can, proceed refining the search with other criteria. We have quite a few, but the most important thing is that you can also just enter a keyword and you have results within seconds. So it's always a little bit also about quick access. And regarding quick access, you will see a bookmarks list as well as a recent activities list. Bookmarks, of course, are managed by the user. So if you stand on a certain product and you want to revisit it maybe the next day, you just set a bookmark, and then you have a quick access possibility right there the next morning. And the recent activities list basically shows you like a browser history where you've been before. This is all just for you to have a little bit of navigational introduction so that you get used to the page. And I hope you can follow me now a bit better. Let's start with creating a new title. Our idea today was that we just go through the system once, and I will start with the draft idea. You can see already a list of templates that are in the system, and I'm going to start with a hardback, and in our demo data, this is belonging to a certain imprint, and I just click on OK, and an entry masks opens up in the back on the new page. Now, let's say I'm the acquisitions editor and I've met the author. Maybe the author is already known to the publishing house. So what I can do right at the beginning is, before I scribble in basically the first ideas that we have to this draft idea, is that I connect this record that I'm going to save with the originator that's already existing in our database. So for that, I'll just quickly choose the author. I can also type it in here, but I know it exists already in our database, so I just look for it, and I'm going to look for a known author that we work with also always in our demo database, and I select her and choose her. Now, so I've already made sure that my ideas are connected, so I set the links. And I'm going to go further and give this draft idea a title. And today we are going to say Publishers in the Cloud. You can see that there's a tick box here, so that still the working title can be changed. I select or generate a short title. And then if I scroll down a little bit, you will see that some other fields are already pre-populated. This is because I already chose a template. So I'm making it easy. It's making it easy for me, so I don't have to go over every single field. Some information are just always there, so I can pre-populate them. And if necessary, I can always also change them here as well. But so that you have, you never have just a blank canvas. Scrolling down, we have responsible persons already set. I'm just going to leave it there. And maybe if I wanted to, I could start with classifications, but I'm not nearly there yet. So what I want to do is I just want to give this a short description, because maybe when I met with the author, we had some ideas, and I just want to make sure that we have some content here in the system to recognize this title idea. And now I'm just going to save it, and it's saved as a record in the system. And now I'm scrolling up again, and what you will see now once the page is loaded again is that a workflow appears here. So title record is stored, and we can see we are very much in the very beginning. We're still in draft idea, but you can see that there's 4 more workflow steps following, and this helps all users just to always know where they stand, always know what to do, and just give you an idea. There's still some tasks that are open. Now, let's just say that I want to go forward with this title idea, and there's a editorial conference coming up. So what I want to do is that I push this title into the next workflow step, which says preparing for approval, so that I can keep working on it before I then discuss it in our editorial conference. And I just quickly do that, and I give this maybe a note with it, something like parallel ebook version also planned, and then I submit it. It's very important that you are always able to document thoughts and notes that you want to want to record with this title draft idea, so that it doesn't get lost. This is really the source of one truth. the one source for everything, and you're able to not only store the record, but also everything surrounding it. And we've landed in the second workflow step, which is preparing for approval. And you might have detected that we now have 2 tabs available, whereas in the first step, we only had 1. And this is intended because with every step of this process, with every maturity the title gains, you will have more tabs and fields available to fill in. So really guiding the user through the process and telling him exactly when you need to fill in certain information. In this case, we are now able to add some estimation plan data. And I'm just going to do this quickly. I'm going to add a distribution channel, and I'll say that the distribution channel trade for the year 2022, I plan, let's just go with 500 pre-pub orders, and then I want to save. And I can't save because the system is smart enough that at certain points, at certain steps in the workflow, you will have some mandatory fields that you need to key in. And in this case, if I go back to our first tab, it's, I know this already, is the planned publication date, because we think at this point you should at least have some date in mind when you want to produce it. So I'll just go to the field, it's highlighted in yellow, and I skip forward, and I'm just going to be optimistic and say on the 11th of December, it's going to be published. And now you can see that I can save this record. And with this data, I now want to go to my editorial conference and present this idea to my colleagues, and then hopefully get to push this title into the next workflow step. And for doing this, because now we live, most of us work remotely and also in the office, so both ways. Mobile work, at least in Europe, has become very popular. And so you want to have some sort of a decision paper that you can store with the title, but that you can also circulate with your colleagues, because you not necessarily see them. And for this, we created this fact sheet. We call it a fact sheet, which really is a decision paper. You can just select a style sheet template, again, template in the system, and create it, and it will just summarize in a nice way, of course, depending on the style sheet that's behind it, the most important information that you've just gathered. And this also helps if you have, not everyone in the publishing house necessarily has access to your ERP system. So with that decision paper, you can just store it in the digital asset management. You can circulate it by email. You can print it out and bring it to your conference, but you have a paper that everyone gets on the same page. No one has to log in and look for themselves. Now we skip forward. The conference was great, and I'm going to continue with this title. And of course, now I want to push it once again into the next workflow step. It's going to be the last one, because I think you get the picture, but I just want to show you what happens now. I'm just going to say, please approve as discussed, and I submit my title idea, and I expect now the page to load again, and I land in the next workflow step. But that's not what happens, because, and that's why I wanted to show you, we have different approval mechanisms in the system behind each workflow step. And from draft to preparing to approval, it was really just my decision as an editor to go ahead with this title idea. So I could just push it through. Now, in this case, and you will see once I've approved this, when we come and enter into forthcoming, where you really have to start working with the title, add information, edit information, you really want to make sure that this is an approved draft. And so we just imagine I'm now my own colleague or my superior, and I've received an email saying that I should approve this title, and I've now logged in, and I'm going to go ahead with that. And I just click on approve, and I maybe say, just go ahead, approved, and click on approve. And now the site loads again, and we land in the forthcoming stage. And give it a minute until it has loaded. And Now we can also see in a moment where all of these information, the notes that we've given, is documented. And we can also see, let's just take this in, we're now in forthcoming, and we can see here that we have a whole lot of other information available now, and a whole lot of fields, a lot of tabs. We are now in at the moment where we want to enter first sales information, such as ISBN or project numbers and so on. We maybe want to add first production information, add it to a series, for example, or to a set. We want to classify the title. We maybe want to make changes to the texts or want to add texts to it. Just as a side note, there are dedicated web apps for really working on marketing texts as well as classifications. So it doesn't need to stop at SEMA and BISEC. You can have plenty of other classifications, but you would generally do them somewhere else. But if you want to cover your basics, you have a few of those texts and classifications also in Title Lifecycle Manager. And then we have, again, the estimation data where you can do your planning. And you might have seen that there is a red one at the task overview. And what I can do that's also linked to this title record is that I can create tasks, and I can have automated tasks that are being created. And this is a nice example. The note that I sent when I approved the title was automatically changed into a task. Of course, you can prepare the text to be a different one. It doesn't need to be what it's saying in here. But the idea is that you can create tasks automatically when you change the workflow step. And you can also now go ahead and say, I want to create a new task. And I'm going to assign it to Nella and give her a due date, let's say in a week. And also give her, no, that didn't work. Wait. 18. And I give her a priority and I say, hi, Nella, please check the contract status. Thanks. Because in my world, Nella works in our contract department, and she can now see if we've received the signed contract or not. And I can also give her a reference where to look up the title information. She should do this in Product 360, and I save it, and I have all of my tasks that I've created ad hoc and that have been created automatically in an overview here. So you can always see a status. Of course, again, trying to make it easier if publishing houses are now working remotely from home, staff is working from home, but also in the office. So just that information doesn't get lost. Also, we have a mail out functionality. We want to keep all of the important information close to the title record. I've opened this mail out functionality. I choose the author. If it's more than one author, it's going to be a list of authors. I choose the right one that I want to communicate with. I say generate emails, and now an email mailbox comes up, and I once again choose one of my templates, and I'm just going to say that I am going to let the author know that the manuscript has arrived. And by choosing this template, again, the text is pre-populated. Of course, I can make changes to it, and then I can send it out. This is my email address now, of course, because we're in a demo, but I send it out, and then my author has received this information. And if I go back into my mailbox, I can then also see all of the emails I've sent out, and I can also see all of the emails that have come back in. One more thing I'd like to show you is the digital asset management. I've addressed it before. It plays again with having everything centrally stored with the record. Just for our demo purposes, I want to upload a cover image. So I click on I open the DAM, and I choose what kind of asset I want to upload. This could be contracts, this could be the decision paper, the fact sheet that I've created before, this could be emails, it could be really anything, a manuscript, a logo. In our case, I'm going to choose the cover picture, and I'm just give this a name, and I click on browse, and then I can now choose my cover image and save it, and it's now stored here in the system. Now I can't get out because my panel, my Zoom panel is in the way. Now, okay, now it's stored in here, and yeah, is stored. And just to make this very round, if I click on the history, the approval history, we will see all of the information, all of the documented approval steps in one place, so we can see when did who approve what and push it into the next workflow step. So it's very transparent. Everything's in one place, and you can sit wherever you want to sit to work on it. Everyone can access these information. With that, I'd like to hand over to Nella quickly before I then continue later on.
Yes, great. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna share my screen as well, because I wanna put your focus on one additional part, because what we've seen so far is that we create this metadata management system where you are guided by the system through the workflows, and they grow, and it is tailored to really the needs of the user. And an additional point, we said it's not just the entering of the metadata, which is important, and where the user should be guided, supported, their life should be made easy. It is also the question of what's the quality of the metadata that is entered, so that not just the data should be checked, is it entered yes or no, but also does it fit to our standard, and does it fit to the general standard of the industry. So do we fulfill, for example, the ONIX 3.0 standard? So you may have noticed when Victoria pushed her title through the workflow that with the third step, there was a little exclamation mark coming up. And I just changed into another title, which is in this case an audiobook, to already have a little bit more metadata at hand to show you this functionality. So I can click on the exclamation mark, and it's gonna open up a dialogue where in the background, while the system is pushing your title through the workflow, we activate so-called quality checks, so that in each step, we run through the metadata and see how does it fit to the defined quality rules we configured in the system. These configurations, just as a side note, from the workflow and the metadata you see, plus the quality is oriented on our best practice knowledge and these industry groups where we work together, and the experience we have out of our development partnerships with customers. So in this case, I see I have actually 4 points that are split up in warnings and that are split up in blockers. Warnings is something like general I need to take care of, but it will not stop me. So I'm in an audiobook, and an audiobook should have maybe numbers of disc or numbers of tracks entered. So we also see it is very specified to the version type of my product. But maybe it's not a physical audiobook, so maybe I do not need the number of disc. What I see as blockers is actually things I need to take care of before I move my title on. So the blockers are really a hard stop. So the system tells you, don't go further before you included your cover picture for export or entered a duration, because then your metadata will be incorrect, and that will be issues with exporting it and make in the end your product visible in the market. So in this case, I close and I say, okay, I need to enter the duration. So I open up also on my side menu the working panel, and I can click on the issue with the duration, and the system automatically guides me through there and shows me here, okay, I see it's a duration and I need to enter my minutes. So in this case, I say 120 minutes and I save it. And then additionally, I see that the cover picture is not included for the export, but I do see that I have a cover picture uploaded. So I would quickly go into the DOM again, as Victoria showed, open it and check my uploaded files. And I see here's the cover picture available, but I have not marked it yet here with a checkbox. So we have included in our DOM the possibility that all the files that should be included in the export can be manually marked as such, so that you use the storage in a broader sense and that you use it also as a hub to share information with all your colleagues, but that you can also define what should then go out to the market. And there's obviously a safety mechanism behind. So I just fulfilled these two things, and I could run the quality check to move it further. But I quickly used this opportunity to show you the second application we wanted to give you a glimpse in, because sometimes or what Victoria and I showed you just right now is the deep dive, really working with the material and really working with the data and creating the title. But sometimes in an organization, as for example, in Victoria's case, I'm responsible in a different department, but I still want to have a look to certain information. So I can open up here via our jump out, our submenu, where you have all the possible applications we offer in our cloud. And one is the Product 360. And the Product 360 is a read-only dashboard application, which gives you transparency over all of the data you have in your system, no matter what area it is from. It is just show me the product from the various viewpoints and everything we have in the system, so that I can see where it stands. So in this case, I open up the dashboard and I selected the quality dashboard, because I showed you the blockers and the warnings, and I want to check where the quality of the title stands. So I can here start my quality check, let it run through these defined rules again and see, is it okay, yes or no? And I see now my quality blockers disappear. It's marked as yellow. I could, in theory, move it forward. I also have a dedicated widget, an area where I see the detailed rule sets I just mentioned to you. So I see in this case, in this workflow step, I have a couple of rule sets applied. So for example, the audio content, if I open this, I see that below this, there are questions like, is the language available, keyword set, theme and bisect codes added, but also is the cover picture included for export? So if I zoom up, you see also a little bit bigger. So the technique behind is really to say, define for the version type the important metadata for the export for your quality, and then the system can check it. And you still also see the two blockers I had in for the numbers in disk. If I go back to the example where Victoria assigned a contract to me, thank you very much, which I could see here in my ad hoc task on the sites. As you see, I have a lot of tasks and I don't take care of it. I'm very sorry for this, but I have here the application, and she said I should look at the data. And for that, I obviously don't want to see the quality view, but maybe a general editorial view. So I can open up my user-specific templates or my team templates and choose the general editorial overview, open it, and I see the same product, but from a different point of view or different viewpoint, with having my digital asset view reviewed, have more short description and biographical note included, have my main product data, but also details regarding originator. I see there's already a signed contract where I could jump off and review the contract data, see scheduled task, and so on. So it is really customizable to your needs, and highly adaptable to the various fields we cover in our application. With this, the last question is, now we showed you how to enter the data, and now the question is, how do we get the data out, and how does the export work? So this is something Victoria will hopefully give you a quick insight.
Yes, so we're changing back. I'm still a title lifecycle manager. I have now changed into also the title that Nella just showed, so that we're a little bit more cohesive, and also because it has already very nice demo data in, so that makes it more obvious when I now show you how we get the data out of the system that we've just put in. And for this can also be done, by the way, in the Product 360 app that Nella just showed, but it also can be done in here. This is the metadata export manager, and I just click on this little icon here and once again choose a template. And in here, in these templates library, you store any kind of export format that you want to export the data. So this could be a fall flyer or an advanced info. This could be an ONIX file just for this one title in 2.1 or in 3.0. You can have different product flyers in the system. And for example, also something like a product landing page. And I'm just going to produce one so that you can get an idea how this works. I just press OK. And on the fly, this landing page is being produced with the data in the system. And if I open it, this is something that it could look like, of course, with our demo data and a quick version of it. And this can be done ad hoc on this single title. So flyers, landing pages, ONIX files, anything that you want, any format that you want to produce. Now, of course, you don't only want to do it on one single title, you might want to do it on a title list. So I'm changing back onto the home screen of the title lifecycle manager. I'll just clear my search that I did before and enter, let's say, all of the titles that our author that we've just worked with has done. I also want to only include products, and so I exclude series, I exclude works, and I just go ahead and do the search once more, and now I get all of a list of all of the titles from our author. And maybe there's a reading coming up and you want to produce some marketing material for it, and that's why you want to produce this list or this flyers with for this title list. And so you can either go through the list and click on all of those single titles that you want to include, or if it's all of them, you just say select all, and you go once again onto this icon for export metadata. The same kind of pop-up comes up and you choose your template, and maybe you want, in this case, produce a product flyer. It will tell you that if products have no ISBN or article number, then those flyers will not be produced. And of course, this is all configuration. In our case, this is a stop. And I can now either immediately produce it and then it downloads into my browser. I can also schedule a batch, so then it goes into our included download manager, where I can then pick it up. And so started a process in the background, and I can now pick up at my storage place all of the flyers. It will tell me that it's now working on it. And to go there, to go to this download manager, I go into the machine room, once again, of the metadata export manager, which is this one. And I go into my monitor functionality, and here I can see all of the batches running. So all of the exports, for example, because of course, we not only have ad hoc exports, we also have automated feeds that go out, let's say every night or every week, an ONIX feed to one of your distributors goes out. And this is all scheduled in here in this monitor, but usually not accessible for every user, but more for power users maybe. But the download manager is accessible here. And this is just your storing place where you can then grab your it hasn't even been done yet, grab your flyers and open them and continue working with them. Now that I've just addressed the automated feeds that go out, I also want to show you quickly how those feeds could look like. So what we do is that we set up specific feeds in our system to your distributors. For in our demo database, this is the Amazons, Nielsen, Apple iBook, Libri, German, of course, and Ingram, for example, could be any other distributor. And when you click through these different feeds, you can see that it specifies, for example, Amazon US, it specifies that an ONIX 3 goes out daily at 8 o'clock. And for Apple iBook, A template hasn't been chosen yet, but if it is chosen, it would also go out daily at 8 o'clock. And it could be weekly, it could be monthly, it could be a different time of day, but just make sure that every day or week an ONIX feed goes out to your distributor, sending all of the relevant information. And with that, my part of the demonstration is done. And having a look at the watch, we are also quite still on time. So if you want, maybe, oh no, Nella takes over again.
Yes. So with that, we are also done with a quick glimpse into our application. And now here comes the sales pitch with the details of what we can offer for you as IBPA members. So very briefly, we mentioned this before, but what we offer in the cloud is a subset of applications that are dedicated to certain business processes of your users, so that you can really select what I want to work with, what my colleague want to work with, and then tailor your daily business around these applications. So we just showed you a glimpse into 4 of these application and features, from product 360, type metadata management, product quality, metadata export. But as you see in the package we offer for IBPA members, lots more of applications are included. And additionally, we wanted to keep it simple today, so we did like the creation of a product, and we're in the TEP area. But we offer also everything for contract rights and royalties. So you also have the option to do your contract management, your royalty runs, your author communication, all this with our application. And please, if you have questions and you want to have a look into the system, just reach out to us, and we are more than happy to give you a similar walkthrough through the main functionalities. You're more than happy also to hit up George for more details, but what we in general do is for our cloud or prospects, people who are interested in the cloud, we offer a 4-week trial with a fully configured system, so you don't have to buy the cat in the box, but just to really do a test run, try everything out. Have like someone of our team guiding you through Q&A sessions, and then decide if this fits to you or not. So we also have online documentation, all of this. So there's no, you really can try out if this fits to you. And then Christopher was so nice to already link our page, but as he mentioned, we have a special pricing for IBPA members. So we said you get a package deal, 400 per month for 2 full users and 1 read-only user. And we waive all setup fees for IBPA members. And for you today who signed up to this webinar, we additionally have the special offer with a 10% discount till end of October. On this note, I hand over to George if you have additional information, and then otherwise I think we are through.
Thanks, Nella. And as she said, for those of you who watched the webinar, you don't have to make any decisions today. We're not putting a gun to your head. You can always come back to us tomorrow, next week, whenever. But if you do want to take advantage of the offer, and nobody else in the industry offers a free trial, as Nella said, we guide you through the entire process. We train you during the trial period so that you can kick the tires as much as you want. I thank Nella and Victoria. They are on Central European time right now, so it's getting past their beauty sleep hour, but I'll turn this back over to Christopher for any ending remarks that he may have.
Yeah, thank you. That was very in-depth. We really appreciate that. So I do have some questions. Okay, so one of the things that I think publishers wonder is, at what point should they sign up for something like this? So, for example, they have 1 book. They haven't even published any books. Or they've published their 10 books a year. Like, who should be signing up for this? When is the time?
Well, from what I've seen of the sort of target market, it's obviously a publisher that's more than a selfie, more than publishing more than one book a year. I mean, somebody who's publishing 8 to 10 books a year, and who has more than one employee on board would be an ideal customer for this. Our latest customer, just for your information, is a startup publisher um, based in New York, Boston, and California, who has 8 employees, and they're going to publish 12 books next year, and they're on our system, and they're getting all their metadata ready, and they're working with their distributor, and that's sort of the pretty much the ideal small publisher. Again, $400 a month we think is a pretty fair price, and you're locked into a 36-month contract on that, and there's no startup fees, so it's something to think about.
And another question is, so let's say someone's been in business for 10 years. They already have a system set up, but it's complicated. It's not working very well. Obviously, you have a really great system here, and it's probably a lot less complicated than some of the things they're already using. But how difficult is it for them to go from whatever Excel spreadsheets or whatever they're using to then integrate all that stuff into your system?
If it's just Excel, it's not that really a complicated a process, because what we offer people is an Excel spreadsheet according to our specifications, and if they can populate that with wherever they're storing their data in their Excel spreadsheets, then we can ingest it into the system. If, on the other hand, they're dealing with an automated system that they purchased 10, 15 years ago, or if they're sitting on FileMaker, we would then have to do a migration. Unless they were willing to key in everything manually, we would build some automated migration scripts to bring all their data into our system. There would be some additional costs, of course.
So you would then, it'd be like a team effort. Like they would come to you and say, hey, here's what we got, and then your tech team would look at it and then figure out how to transfer it in. And then once it's transferred in, like how like A to B is it in terms of like, because if it's an old system, like in yours is a newer system, like how is it in terms of like, do things sometimes come over and then it's like, I don't know, out of whack, where it's like like the title of a book is in the I don't know, the price or something. You know what I mean? Like how well do things transfer over, I guess?
Well, yeah, and that's where our technical people will get involved and say, wherever your price is stored in your spreadsheet, you need to put it here. Or if they don't have the ability to do that, we'll get consultants involved that will take their spreadsheet, write a script to put it in the format that we need to ingest it into our system.
Okay.
And we make, just on a side note, we make also sure that this mapping is correct, so that these kind of errors do not occur. Easier is obviously when you're already having an XML export. So if you're already working with XML exports, this is and they follow certain standards, and they follow, for example, the ONIX 3.0 standard. It is easier for us to just import and then with that do the migration that way. So it is always depending, obviously, what's the output of the publisher in order to get it into the system.
And sometimes people are hesitant to sign up with the new system just for the whole learning curve of it. Even though, like, I mean, clearly your system is like when you showed it, I was like, well, that seems like really like well put together, that I could understand it, even though I'm an author publisher, but I don't have like 10 titles. But I was like, okay, I get how this works. So anyway, sometimes they're a little hesitant to sign up with something new for that reason. Now, as part of the member benefit, though, you all have webinars, you have people that work with them. Can you just talk about how like you kind of help them, integrate into the system?
Yeah, I mean, the whole purpose of the trial is to get them comfortable with the system, and maybe some of the people that were part of the webinar today took a look at what we were doing and say, wow, I may not take advantage of all that. You don't have to. You can start off very simple and grow into the system. There's a lot of features and functions in this system, but you don't have to take advantage of all of them on day one. And in terms of our cloud customers, we're going to continue having what we call continuous training. So just because we say there's a 4-week trial, you know, if you still don't feel comfortable that you've mastered a lot of the facets of the system, you know, we won't cut you off. We will work with you until you feel comfortable, or you come back and tell us the system is not for me. But it's an opportunity for you to really get to know the system and figure out how it's going to align with your business processes.
Okay, we have a question from someone. Does the system support other management of other types of publications or projects, such as magazines, journals, apps, documentary videos on YouTube, basically like non-traditional metadata, because they don't just publish books?
Yes. So in general, yes, we do. We have, I mean, we showed you a very, very streamlined traditional print publishing process, but we make sure that we support all types of version or all kinds of version types in our system and support them in the workflow. And we also have additional metadata. What we decided to do is that we don't want to overwhelm the user with the 150 plus metadata fields we have in the system for special cases. So that's why we have this subset broken down in the workflow steps. But in general, we can handle various product types and non-traditional publications as well. So for example, in Germany, we have a publisher as a long time customer who does these who does like additional kids toys you buy in a bookstore at the counter. So like a little wooden airplane or like a kaleidoscope or stuff like this, and they still manage this with our system. So it is not just books and various forms from books, but also merchandise around it and other data.
And we are also members of the Audio Publishers Association, and we are enhancing our audio metadata as we speak.
That's great. So I had one other question. For our member benefit, it lists title management, royalty management, things of that. So you were mentioning then that they don't have to sign up for everything all at once. It can be like a la carte, if you will.
Right. And go ahead, Nella.
No, please, George.
Okay.
No, go.
Yeah. So when we first partnered with you, Christopher, I think you remember, I think it was 8 or 9 months ago, our first offering that we architected for this lower base system was our title management system. And then we subsequently came out with, about a month or so ago, with an offering for contracts, rights, and royalties, or for just the rights management system if somebody wanted that. And what I'm currently speaking with somebody whose main pain point are ONIX exports. That publisher is also interested eventually in getting into royalties, although interestingly enough, he doesn't have a big royalty problem because most of his authors have been dead for centuries, so he's not really paying out royalties. But he is interested in eventually getting our contract rights and royalty system, and he's going to grow into the system. He's going to perhaps start off with title management and then a year later come back to us and say, I want to add one more user, and I want that user to make use of the royalty function. And we'll work with them, you know, to figure out what additional applications he's going to need.
Okay, great. And we have a question from Joe, who's an attendee. Does the Digital Assets Manager have a type of guest access feature that, for example, like an editor can give to a designer, freelance, solicitor, or would they need to export the materials on their own?
So in general, we do not have a guest access feature for the digital asset management alone, but also due to security reasons that we do want to keep your data safe. What we have for these kind of cases is that we, for example, offer not just author or narrator as the type of originator, but many, many more types. So if you have a designer you work with on a regular basis, you can lock them as an originator for example, the cover art or included illustration. And with that, they're available in the email dialogue. So you can send out the files directly out of the system the way Victoria showed you via the email communication, and you don't have to download it and have a singular sidetrack with this, but you can do it in other ways of the system. In general, we, with like guest accesses, we are a little bit more restrictive just to also secure your data and have their safety mechanism in place.
Okay. Well, as Victoria, you were setting up all those tasks, I was glad you didn't send any to me. I was like, whew, it looks like Nella's got a lot of work on her hands, but I'm good, so thank you. Let me tell you, this system really, I think it's really interesting, and I think it's a big help. We do have members asking us all the time about title management. I think it can be very overwhelming, especially things like royalty, keeping track of all of it. So the system, it's set up so that it takes away all of that stress. So I appreciate y'all for going through such a detailed explanation, and I know that it's actually more complex than even what you've shown us. So for anybody out there who's looking to learn more, if you go to the member benefit page, which if you're watching this video later on, you're on, then you just click on the access the benefit, and you'll be able to reach out and ask them questions. But I really appreciate y'all for taking the time. Again, I'd forgotten y'all are in like Berlin, and it's a different time, so I hope you get some rest. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And again, thank you also just for providing this as a member benefit. We really appreciate it. So I'm going to stop hitting record, but that doesn't mean we're all going to disappear. But thanks everyone for watching. We appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day.
Thank you.